The primary cleansing agent in early modern synthetic shampoos was born out of industrial chemical engineering. Before that compound existed, every civilization on Earth washed their hair with plants growing in the dirt outside their doors. 5 of those plants still exist. All 5 produce lather. All 5 grow in a bucket. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly why nobody told you about them. Hi, I am Harry, and this is Garden Explained with Harry. For 4,000 documented years, human beings cleaned their hair with roots and leaves and dried fruit husks. Egyptian physicians recorded plant-based washing in 1550 BCE. Indian families passed the knowledge from grandmother to granddaughter for over 100 generations. Native American communities built entire ceremonies around the act of washing hair with desert roots. Every continent had its own version. Every culture had its own plant. In 1934, Procter & Gamble released Dreeny, the first mass-market synthetic surfactant shampoo. Its active cleaning agent, sodium alkyl sulfate, was derived from chemical processes heavily utilized for heavy-duty industrial cleaning, including stripping oil from factory equipment. Within 20 years, that compound became the standard in every commercial shampoo bottle on every store shelf in the Western world. Within one generation, 4,000 years of plant-based hair washing vanished from common knowledge. Today, the global shampoo industry generates $36 billion a year. Every bottle on that shelf is a repeat purchase. Every repeat purchase is revenue. A plant growing in a bucket on your porch is a one-time decision that no corporation can monetize. That is not a conspiracy. That is a business model. Here is what the bottle replaced. Certain plants produce a compound that foams naturally in water. This compound cuts oil, lifts dirt, and rinses clean. But unlike the synthetic version in commercial shampoo, it does not strip the natural oil layer from your scalp completely. Traditional cultures that washed with these plants never experienced the cycle that modern shampoo users know so well. The stripping, the dryness, the overproduction of oil, the need to shampoo again the next day. The product created the problem it claims to solve. The first of these 5 plants has been growing wild across Europe for over 1,000 years. Museum conservators still use it today, and it might already be growing in your yard. It is called soapwort. Its scientific name is Saponaria officinalis. That first word, saponaria, comes from the Latin word for soap. The Romans named it, they knew exactly what it did. Roman soldiers used soapwort to wash wool tunics in the field. Medieval textile workers called fullers used it to clean freshly woven fabric before it went to market. The plant grew so commonly near wool mills that it earned the folk name Bouncing Bet, after the washerwomen who worked the cloth. If you walk through the English countryside today and find soapwort growing wild near old stone ruins, you are almost certainly standing near the remains of a medieval mill. The plant outlasted the building. Here's the part that should bother you. The British Museum uses soapwort solution to clean antique tapestries. The Smithsonian uses it on delicate historical textiles. The Abegg Foundation in Switzerland uses it on fabrics that are 500 years old. These institutions will not risk synthetic detergents on irreplaceable artifacts because the chemicals are too harsh. They trust soapwort instead. If a museum considers commercial soap too aggressive for a piece of cloth, what does that tell you about what you are putting on your scalp every morning? Soapwort grows in USDA zones 3 through 9. It tolerates poor soil. It spreads aggressively once established. You can grow it in a container on a balcony or let it naturalize in a garden bed. One planting becomes a permanent supply. You crush the leaves or roots in water and it lathers. No processing, no packaging, no factory. You might have pulled this plant out of a flower bed last summer thinking it was a weed. If soapwort served all of Europe for 1,000 years, there was a counterpart doing the same work across Asia for even longer. In India, they call it Retha. In English, it is known as the soap newt. It comes from a tree called Sapindus mucoracea. That family name, Sapindaceae, translates directly to soap of India. Western botanists named it that because even they could not deny what the tree does. Ayurvedic texts reference Retha as far back as 1500 BCE. Families across the Indian subcontinent have used these dried fruit husks to wash hair, clean laundry, and polish jewelry for over 3,000 years. The method is simple. You take the dried shells, place them in a small cloth bag, soak them in warm water, and squeeze. The liquid lathers, it cleans, it conditions, it rinses without residue. A single soap nut tree begins producing fruit after about 9 years. Once it starts, it produces for 90 years or more. One tree, one lifetime of shampoo, no bottles, no subscriptions, no quarterly earnings reports. Millions of people across South Asia still choose traditional herbs over modern bottles, maintaining a direct connection to the trees in their courtyards. Soap nuts cannot be patented. They cannot be branded. They cannot generate the kind of recurring revenue that a plastic bottle with a 6-month shelf life creates. When something free outlasts the person who planted it, there is no business case for telling anyone it exists. But the oldest documented use of a plant for hair washing did not come from Europe or Asia, it came from the American desert. The Navajo people call the root of the yucca plant amole. The Hopi people use it. The Pueblo people use it. The Apache people use it. Ethnobotanical records from the 1800s document over 40 distinct uses of yucca across Native American communities. Hair washing was one of the most important. The yucca root contains compounds that foam aggressively when pounded and mixed with water. You dig the root, strip the outer layer, crush the inner flesh, and work it in a bowl of water. It produces a thick, rich lather that cleans hair without leaving it brittle or dry. This was not folk medicine. This was infrastructure. In Navajo tradition, the wedding ceremony requires both partners to wash their hair in yucca suds from the same basin. The plant was so central to daily life that it carried ceremonial weight. You do not build sacred rituals around something that does not work. When the reservation system forced Native American communities into dependence on government trading posts, commercial soap and shampoo arrived in boxes. Within one generation, traditional knowledge of amole began to fade in many communities. The pattern is identical to what happened in Europe and Asia. A free, self-renewing plant was replaced by a product that required purchase, transport, packaging, and repurchase. The dependency was the point. Yucca grows in sand. It grows in gravel. It grows in desert heat with no irrigation. You can grow it in a large container with fast-draining soil and almost no attention. The plant does not need you. You need the plant. The next one might be the most important of all 5. Its name translates directly from Hindi as fruit for hair. It is called Shikakai. Shikakai comes from a climbing shrub called Acacia conchana. It has been used across India, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka for at least 2,000 years. In many Indian villages today, grandmothers still wash their hair with Shikakai, not as tradition, not as nostalgia, as standard daily practice, because it works better than the bottle on the shelf. Here is why. The human scalp maintains a natural pH of about 5.5. This slightly acidic environment protects against bacteria and fungal growth and keeps hair follicles healthy. Shikakai solution sits at a pH between 4.5 and 5.5. It matches the scalp almost exactly. Commercial shampoo typically runs at pH 6 to 7 or higher. Every wash pushes the scalp out of its natural range. The scalp responds by overproducing oil to compensate. The oil makes hair look greasy. The greasiness drives another wash, another bottle, another purchase. The cycle is not a flaw in the product. The cycle is the product. Shikakai does not create this cycle. It cleans without disrupting the balance. The hair does not overcorrect. The scalp does not panic. The person does not need to wash again the next day. The plant did not get replaced because it failed. It got replaced because it worked so well that there was nothing left to sell after it. Shikakai grows as a climbing shrub in tropical and subtropical climates. The dried pods store for months, Ground into powder, they ship anywhere in the world. A small bag lasts longer than 3 bottles of commercial shampoo. The last plant on this list is one you almost certainly already own. It is sitting on your windowsill right now. You have probably used it for sunburn, maybe for a scrape or a dry patch of skin, but you have never once thought of it as shampoo. It is Aloe vera. Egyptian physicians called it the plant of immortality. They documented it in the Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest medical texts ever found, dating to approximately 1550 BCE. Across the Caribbean, families have used aloe gel to wash and condition hair for generations. In India, aloe has been part of Ayurvedic hair care for over 1,000 years. While aloe vera cleanses and conditions beautifully due to its enzymes and proteolytic properties, it does not foam aggressively on its own. Instead, it works as a soothing, conditioning wash that cleans without stripping. And because of the thick gel inside each leaf, it conditions at the same time. Aloe vera contains over 75 active compounds. Among them are enzymes that reduce scalp inflammation, amino acids that strengthen hair at the root, and vitamins that support the skin underneath. You do not need a lab to extract these. You snap a leaf, you scrape the gel, you rub it into wet hair. It works! Aloe grows from a single leaf cutting placed in a pot of soil. It grows indoors. It grows outdoors in warm climates. It grows in a bucket on a fire escape in Brooklyn. It requires almost no water. It requires almost no attention. One plant produces enough leaves to wash hair for a year. One plant produces offsets that become new plants. The supply multiplies while you sleep. You already had the answer in your home. You just never knew to ask the question. 5 plants, 5 continents of traditional knowledge, thousands of years of documented use. Every one of them produces a natural compound that foams in water, lifts dirt, and rinses clean. Every one of them was replaced within a single generation by a synthetic chemical that was originally developed to clean factory equipment. Every one of them still works. Every one of them grows with minimal input. None of them generate recurring revenue. The shampoo industry did not eliminate these plants through force. No company sent agents to pull soapwort from English hedgerows or confiscate soap nut trees from Indian courtyards. The mechanism was simpler than that. A plant that grows in a bucket cannot be advertised. A dried pod that lasts 6 months cannot sustain a subscription. A tree that produces fruit for 90 years cannot justify annual purchases. A root you harvest from your own yard cannot be placed on a shelf at markup. Research follows funding. Funding follows patents. Patents require synthetic, controlled, reproducible compounds made in facilities with licensing agreements and supply chains. A garden cannot be patented. A yucca root cannot be trademarked. A grandmother in a village in Tamil Nadu washing her hair with Shikakai powder cannot be monetized. The same pattern happened with white clover. For 80 years, American lawn seed mixes contained clover because clover fertilizes soil for free. Then, the herbicide industry needed new markets. They removed clover from the mixes. They sold chemicals to kill what they had previously sold as beneficial. 3 generations later, homeowners spend billions on fertilizer that clover would have provided at no cost. The plants on this list faced no deliberate campaign. No one banned soapwort. No one outlawed Retha. The system did not need to suppress them. It just needed to stop mentioning them. What cannot be sold cannot be marketed. What cannot be marketed does not enter consciousness. 3 generations grew up without ever hearing the word Shikakai, not because anyone hid it, because no one profited from revealing it. But the plants do not care about revenue streams. Soapwort is still spreading through abandoned lots across England. Soap nut trees are still producing fruit in Indian courtyards after 90 years. Yucca is still standing in the desert, waiting. Aloe is still sitting on your windowsill, doing nothing because nobody told you what it could do. Now you know. And a bucket is $3.